I think so. Okay. My name is John Begg. I'm the president of the Model A Ford Foundation. First of all, thank you for all being here. Pretty nice day, huh? Beat last year? I don't know that I've ever seen so many Model A's at this event. I think this is just outstanding. I really do. So, thanks everybody for coming. Now, this is a participation. Everybody has to participate in this particular meeting, okay? Here's the way it goes. I'm supposed to run the agenda. You're supposed to make certain I do that, okay? So if I vary from the agenda, all you have to say is get back to the agenda. Okay, is that fair? That's fair. Because we have a timetable here. All right, so everybody's got a role in this. All right, but before we start, let me do some introductions. Let's see here. Oh yeah, we have some past MAFI presidents with us. Lukey, Stan, who else? Who are MAFI presidents that are here with us today? Please stand and be recognized. These are MAFI presidents. And I think we have a bunch of MAFI trustees, past and present. If you're with us, please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your service. Let's see now. We also have board members from MARC. I know Joe Fox and Rusty Gould are here. Joe, please stand and be recognized. Rusty, where are you? Thank you for coming. Yes, where are they? Stand up. Be recognized, please. We all have to participate in this presentation. Well done. Well done. We have some MAFCA people with us. We have people. My wife, Happy, is here. She's a people. Better be careful. I do want to live to fight another day, after all. And Doug Linden is here. Any other MAFCA representatives from the board with us?
Still manning the booth.
Still manning the booth. Waiting for the deals. Is Hal Dye with us? Hal, are you here? I have not seen him. I don't know if Hal is here. Rob Gibby, is Rob here, or is he driving people around? Where are you, Rob? Want to recognize Rob. He's driving the Woody wagon somewhere. He's probably having something to eat again. But that Woody wagon was Rob's, and Rob donated that to the museum for the purpose that we're having today, which is to take rides in these cars. That's what they're for, right? We also have a very special dignitary with us today. We have Wayne Carini. Wayne, please stand and be recognized. Oh, wait a minute, I read ahead. Sorry, Wayne, it was somebody else. Wayne is an absolute fabulous ambassador for our hobby, and we're very thankful that he's with us today. The Mishawaka High School is represented, is that right? Mishawaka, what are you known as? The Mishawaka what? Cavemen. The cavemen are here, all right. Welcome. Model A Restoration Club. Okay. Just a hint, caveman is a tough handle to carry around. But we're thankful you're here. Thanks for being here. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. Let's see. This, if you can imagine, putting together a program like this is not one person. It takes an awful lot of people, and there are a lot of people. They're either under this tent or they're out doing things, and I would like to express our appreciation for MAFI and both the national clubs for pulling off this kind of event. I think this is just fair. And I'd also like to recognize our speakers. I think many of you probably got to see Larry Shepard. Stan Johnson's talk last night on first responders, which was just outstanding. Wayne Carini will talk to us later. The distinguished Wayne Carini, excuse me, will talk to us later. Rob Gibby, Sherry Winkenhofer is not here. Ken Ehrenhofer is going. Oh no, Sherry is here. Sherry's giving I'm sorry, Sherry. Thank you for coming. You'll be doing the fashion show. Ken Ehrenhofer, our swap meet coordinator, Mark Marin, Jerry Morrissey, who pretty much does everything except sell popcorn because we don't have any, and was our Model A Day chair this year. All right, so before I give you a brief update, I promise it'll be very brief, about the State of the Union of the museum. So what is the theme of today's event? First responders, right? This is a fun day, right? All out in the sun. We're thinking about Model A's from first responders, ambulances, fire chief, policemen, wreckers, all of those type of things. That's fun, but it's not always fun. Our first responders are the people that take care of our community and our country. And what I would like to ask you to do is I would like to ask you to stand, please. And gentlemen, I'd like you to remove your caps. Randy, if you would bring forward the... Earlier this year, Michigan lost a police officer while in service. His name was Deputy Sheriff Ryan J. Proxmire. I think that he deserves our respect. I'd ask for a moment of silence and respect for him, please. Thank you. And thanks to all of the first responders for what they've done, past and present. Okay, everyone please sit down, and I've got another, in a minute, a lot more of you I hope will be standing up. So my question to you is, do we have any past, present, or present currently serving first responders today? Could you please stand and be recognized? First responders. Any others? Any others? Don't sit down. Don't just sit down. Don't sit down. You can still say get back to the agenda, but you just can't sit down. All right, those that are willing to stand and be recognized, thank you for your service. And those that have already received a pin for that, Susan has pins. One she's going to give to her husband, who's the next fireman. Are there any others? Please stand if you haven't been recognized. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Fire, police.
Fire, police.
EMS.
Mafi, president. Would that count? No.
Two nurses.
Thank you. Nurses, yes, absolutely. Of course.
Any doctors?
Doctors.
Emergency room physicians? Anybody who helps save us, keep us healthy? All of those things.
Okay. Thank you, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. All right, so now, what are we doing now? What are you guys doing? You get managing the agenda. That's what you're supposed to do, right? So what's next on the agenda? State of the Union. That's what I'm supposed to do. All right, so let's talk about that. Today we have 35 cars, roughly, cars and trucks in the museum, along with an airplane, Aerofashions, Model A parts, and tools. Pretty awesome, huh? And we have a building. We have the, where's the Gilmore? Is it Gilmore people? We have the finest museum on this campus. We certainly have. We certainly have the best attended, and it's from all walks of life, as Wayne and I were talking about. And I think that's something that makes this very, very special for all of us. So last year we had 7 vehicles that have been donated since last year. 2 new interactive displays, a chassis, a starter display if you've been into the museum. The starter display, the interactive starter display, is the most popular display on this entire campus. How about that? Huh? And that was done from volunteers, by the way. Ken Ehrenhofer was one of them. I don't know if Ken's with us here. So I said I'd make it brief. Agenda, right? So we have 3 major objectives that we've been implementing over the past several years. It's just 3. It's easy to remember 3. Always things come in 3, right? 3. The first is to remain financially secure. How much debt do we have? 0. We have no debt. We have no debt. We are financially secure. We have a very nice endowment. So we want to remain debt-free, and we want our endowment to be able to support our future as we proceed. This is in place. The second is to expand our reach to other Model A owners. How do you do that? Do you get everybody to come to Michigan? It's going to be maybe hard to do that. We love coming to Michigan. I'm not from Michigan. We lived in Michigan. Back to the agenda, right? Back on the agenda. Back on the agenda. By the way, did anybody else have a hot dog for lunch today? Have you had any problems? I had one. I just wanted to, am I going to be okay? We're finishing. Just double checking. Back to the agenda. Back to the agenda. We've established a partnership with NatMos, which is in Auburn, Indiana. And Dave Yard, is Dave here? Dave? I hope Dave is here. I want Dave to hear this. Please record this. Dave is a friend of mine. He's the executive director of NatMos. He has a beautiful museum there. We have 7 Model A's and a Petenbowl airplane there. It is a fabulous exhibit. And guess what it does? What does it do? It expands our reach so other people can exhibit Model A's that wouldn't necessarily come to Michigan. But we're also in talks with another museum in California. So what's the objective? The objective is to get cars more out where people can enjoy them. Our third initiative is to have visitors, remember, our third initiative is to have visitors experiencing riding and driving in Model A's. You saw that today. You really saw that really well, I think. We want to have 4 cars in this fleet on this campus and 2 buses and a stake bed truck. And we want to have people drive them, learn how to drive them, and we want to have people ride in them and enjoy riding in them. Wayne Carini made a comment at a recent meeting about the next generation not necessarily knowing how to even use a clutch. Okay? Well, if they can't use a clutch, are they going to enjoy our hobby? No. How will they enjoy our hobby? We're going to have to teach them to do that. So that's our 3 main initiatives. Okay, that's great. Okay, so let's keep talking about this for a little bit. So there's a lot of talk about the future of our hobby and how we secure the future of our hobby. How do we pass this on from one generation to the next? How do we do this? Mark Marin, Mark is probably not here. Where are you, Mark? Mark and I have talked about this a lot, so I'm going to pick on you, Mark. So we try to look at it, and are any of you engineers out here? Anybody know anything about engineering? Okay, I know a little bit about it. I'm an engineer. So you always try to take a problem, you try to make it as small as possible. That's a differential equation, if you want to think of it that way. So that's what you do. So what do you do when you want more youth involved? What do you do when you want to run a marathon? You do it one step at a time. That's how you do it. So you do one guy at a time, one lady at a time, one girl at a time, right? The bag boy. You pull up in your Model A and he says, man, this thing's cool. That's awesome. Okay, get him involved. Tell him he gets the gas mileage. You know he's going to ask. How many miles did he get, right? So get him involved. Get him involved. We have a unique opportunity today in that the Mishawaka High School is with us, and I'm going to introduce them in a minute. But I want to say one thing. I promise this is on the agenda, and I promise I won't make it long. All right, I'll promise it's on the agenda. All right, so my grandson will be 15 years old next week. 15. So I thought, how do I do this? Well, you know what my grandson likes? He likes playing with video games and stuff. Anybody got a grandson like that? Okay, he likes YouTube. All right, so what we did was we created a YouTube video. My grandson came over. We got him to come over and spend the night with us because of why? Because we had food. That's why he came over. So you bait him with food, right? So he came over, he had food, and he watched a Paul Shin video about how to install an intake and an exhaust manifold. His name is Jacob. So the next morning we get up, I've got the tools laid out and all that. I said, were you ready to go? He said, yeah, I'm ready to go. I said, let me start. And he said, I know how to do this. Okay. So he picked up the tools. Did he do everything right? No, he didn't. He completed the job, he videotaped it, we put it on YouTube, we sent it to his teachers. At the end of the project, aside from saying, Poppy, can we get ice cream? He said, one day I'd really like to have this panel delivered. How about that? All right, so that's my story. That's my example. That's what I wanted to leave you with. But before I leave you with it, I think who can better talk about an issue like how we pass this on to the next generation might be the next generation. How about that? Kira, would you like to come forward, please? Mishawaka High School.
Hello everyone, my name is Kira Alexander and I'm the project manager at Mishawaka High School for our advanced manufacturing class where we are working on restoring a Ford Model A. So the class started last year. The class used to be where we were creating a go-kart to race, but due to COVID, the competition was shut down, so we had to come up with a new idea. And so the teacher last year, Paul Maudlin, he has a very big passion for Model A's and got everybody very pumped up about being able to restore a Model A. So that's how we did that. And so we started looking for a car last year, and we did lots of research, checked out many different cars, but finally landed and bought a car in November. So once the car was arrived, we were able to drive it off the trailer. The engine runs. It's in decent condition, so we're still going to do some work on that, but for the most part, not much. So once we got the car, we put it in our auto bay. So we started to take everything apart step by step, taking lots of pictures along the way, so we would be able to put it back together. Right. No. So we just didn't lose the parts, made sure everything was labeled in baggies, made sure it was all organized very well. So the last year's accomplishment was that we were able to get the frame 100% done. The goal was to get the car done, but due to COVID and only having 2 to 3 people in a class at a time, it was very difficult to make that happen. So we are moving that to the goal for this year would be to get the car done at the end of the year. So there's been a big community of people helping us along the way, Facebook, VFF, we have a YouTube account. Just everybody has been giving us lots of good advice and donations and everything. So we have been doing funding with writing grants and sending out flyers, and many people have been supporting us, so that has been really great. So one of our seniors last year, Troy Crooks, won the Ford Model A scholarship, so that was pretty neat, and I'll be applying for that this year, cross fingers. Thank you. So some things learned last year was there's just many cool things that we learned about how to work on the car and things like that, but there's still so much to learn, so that's when people with more experience come in and teach us different lessons. There's been many life lessons that we've learned as well, with Paul Maudlin teaching us school smarts as well as life lessons. And then this year, his nephew, Ben Maudlin, is taking over the class, so I'm very excited for that as well. And another big goal for us this year would be to go to the national meet in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. That would be a big goal for us. But yeah, if you haven't yet, I encourage everybody to come step out by our booth, come talk to us. We have our frame with us today, so come by, look at pictures, talk to us, give us advice, give us feedback. That would be really good. But I just want to thank the Gilmore Museum and John Biggs today for this opportunity and just everybody being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kira. A couple of quick comments, and then we'll go to the next item. But one is, thank you for a job well done. You're an excellent communicator, and I mentioned this to you in a previous email, so you're really, really well done. I'd like to thank Mafka and Mark for contributing to their effort with publications and documents, restoration guidelines, instructive materials. I'd also like to thank the Board of the Trustees of MAFI for donating parts. I asked Kira, she didn't do this, I asked her team to develop a wish list of parts they might want, and she did that. She'll share you the wish list. If you've got some parts, they'd happily take them. There should be a tin cup on the front. If you want to throw a few dollars in it, that's good too. So thank you, Kira. You should feel pretty good about the youth. How about that? Is that good? Okay, agenda, right? I have a couple of people I'd like to talk about. First is Mark Marin. Where are Mark?
Yes, sir.
Mark and his wife Val work tirelessly on so many museum-related activities, including the swap meet, raising money for the museum. John. We didn't rehearse this. Mark, can you come forward, or Val, in your place? It's a small token of our appreciation.
Really?
I want you to have this gift.
Really?
is Ken Ehrenhofer. Is Ken here? Ken, would you come forward, please? You don't have to hook. Hey, Ken, I'm not giving you the microphone, Ken. Don't even think about it, Ken. I don't really know where to start with this, but I'll start from the beginning. I guess that's where you have to start. Ken has put more effort into the bus project than this entire group combined. This has been his baby. He's driven it. He's made this happen. He's done so much for this museum. There's not enough thanks that we can give you, but we can give you a token of our appreciation, and that's what we'd like to do. John, you got it? Look at this, just a little rehearsing over there. Huh? Thank you.
Buy a shirt, please.
You know, I was tempted to give him a shirt, but I just couldn't do that. Couldn't go there. Annually, we give out an award for Volunteer of the Year. We didn't do it last year because we didn't have it last year. But that's not really the reason. The real reason is we had so much work done by so many people we couldn't just give out one award. So the first award I'd like to give out is to Jerry Morrissey. I hope Jerry's here. Jerry? Jerry, can you come forward? All right, from setting up the fundraiser that helped us offset some of the losses when we lost Model A Day. Just so you know, Model A Day generates anywhere between 1/3 and 1/2 of our annual revenue. Jerry set up a fundraiser to help us offset that. Being our Model A Day chairman, basically being the museum manager. I can't think of anybody more of a deserving a person. Jerry and his wife, Trudy. Trudy, please stand. These two special people are examples of Model A'ers we should all aspire to become. Yes, no, I'm not. Okay. Jerry, on behalf of Model A Ford Foundation, please accept this award. So you have a challenge when the guy handing you the award is going to win an award. So you have to keep it in a separate place. So we have a repeat winner. John Marshall and the crew. John, please come forward. Not with that award, with another one. Okay, where do you start with this one? All right. First of all, let me hand him the award so I can read what I wrote. Thank you, John. The crew is basically restored two automobiles. They don't live around the corner. They come from Illinois. There's nothing wrong with Illinois, is it? No, Illinois is a nice place. They come all the way from Illinois over here to help do all of these things with the museum. And for that, they're the co-winner of the Volunteer of the Year. So thank you, and the crew. Crew, stand up. Not known as the Motley Crew, by the way. It's just the crew. John came up here with another award because I want to award. I don't believe Stephanie Grunman is here today. I don't believe she is here with us. I have not seen her. She's here. Stephanie served as our editor of The Preserver, which is our magazine, for 14 years. And she did an excellent job. And we have a plaque for her. And she's not here. We'll send it to her. But we would like to thank her for her efforts and contributions to the museum. So if we had a drinking contest with every time I said thank you, you take a shot, nobody would walk out of here sober. But that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. That's a great thing. So a special thanks to all the Gilmore crew. We have a great partnership with the Gilmore. We really do. These people are just fantastic to work with. Look at the campus. Look at all the facilities. It's just hard to say how much work they do for us. So, but let me. Ken Fishang, are you here? Ken. More hot dogs. Jeff Romag. There's so many people to thank. Art, Josh, but thanks to the Gilmore for being such a great partner to us in this museum. What's your role in this
Grab me there.
agenda? Where are we? Hall of Fame. It's a really good crowd, really good crowd. All right, so it's now time in the program for our Hall of Fame induction ceremony. This is the highest recognition attainable. This is the best gift that we can bestow upon a moderator. It doesn't just happen. It isn't bought. It's earned. It doesn't happen in a year. It takes many years of contributions in many ways. There are a lot of people involved in investing and looking at the history of what did a person do? Why would this person be recognized? There are about 15 of us that ultimately make this decision. And we are ready now to begin the process and tell you who the Hall of Fame recipients are for this year. To help me with this process, I'd like to introduce Jim Thomas. Jim is a trustee. Jim runs the Hall of Fame program. Notice I said that you run that, Jim, meaning that you'll have to continue running that. Jim's done an outstanding job. Jim, I'll give you the microphone.
Yeah, thank you, John. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Model A Ford Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame was established back in 2014, and today will be the 8th time we get together to induct new people into the Hall of Fame. It's been kind of an annual tradition here at Model A Day. Although we didn't have Model A Day last year, we still had the inductions last year, so we haven't missed any days. Over the past 90 years, there's been many people involved in the creation, promotion, sales, registration, restoration, preservation, and so forth for the Model A Ford. To honor these individuals, we're going to induct just a small handful of those we thought were most worthy of this honor today. The first inductees back in 2014 were Henry and Edsel Ford, so everyone will be in good company here. Today we'll continue that process with 4 new individuals. They will be joining an elite group of 26 others, so we're now at a total of 30 belonging to this Model A Ford fraternity. During this process, I'm going to be reading some background information on each person, but to keep the program short, this is going to be a very brief background. If you want to see the full write-up on each individual, you can see it on the website, you can see it on the kiosk in the museum, or you can see it on a notebook in the museum. So it'll be a much longer explanation of who they are and what they did. It's very hard to do this in a couple minutes, but go look at the full write-ups. Also, when you visit the museum, take a look in the video room. On the wall there are metal plaques, now 30 of them, one for each of the different people involved in the induction stuff. Our first inductee in this year is James A. Spahn. We want to
Bill Skaggs, would you come forward, please? Happy and Doug Linden, would you come forward? Happy and Doug Linden represent MOFGA. They're the chief officers of MOFGA with us today. And Bill Skaggs is a very close family friend. Jim could not be with us. Bill will talk more about that.
If I can get up.
yeah, have to climb
That's
it.
a long step for an old guy. Well, thank you for letting me come and represent Jim Spahn today. Jim's been my buddy for about the last 12 or 15 years. We've looked at Model A's and all over western Missouri, eastern Kansas. But about last May, they told Jim's wife he had 3 months to live. He has an inoperable brain tumor. So that broke all of our hearts. And being a special friend, Jim and I did something almost every week. Sometimes 2 or 3 times a week we'd be running around looking at cars or whatever. So I started picking him up every week, and I have for the last year and a half practically. And 3 weeks ago was our last time that we went out to ride around and have lunch. But today Jim's in hospice, can't get out of his hospital bed. So pray for Jim and his wife, if you would please, in your prayers. But all of us here have been at events like this, been to parades, and I don't know about you, but every time that I go to one, it puts a smile on my face to see a model in it, and I know it did Jim's. When we'd have our parades for our club and be on the 4th of July parade, Jim would be out taking pictures and all with that big smile on his face. But I want to tell you a few things about Jim, some you probably know and some that you don't know. But one of the things that you don't know, probably, is that Jim's been to prison. Jim was in the Air Force. He had an unfortunate encounter with Charles Manson. He owned a feed store. He sold used cars in Oregon. He was an Elvis fan. While he was selling cars in Oregon, Elvis was going to be in Oregon or Washington or someplace within a few hundred miles. He and some of the other guys chartered a plane, went to see Elvis, went back out to the plane, and almost ran out of gas before they got home. That's a funny story when he tells it. Jim was one-time raised cattle, and he learned to do artificial insemination. Another crazy story. Anyway, I have to tell you the truth about Jim and his prison trip. About 10, 12 years ago, we had a program in the state of Missouri that they restored old cars. And so I was fortunate enough to get my car in that program that I'd owned since 1978. And so Jim wanted to go with me and keep track of how they did it and follow the car through the prison system. So we sat together for 3.5 hours talking, going to the prison with the car. So that's Jim's prison trip. But once again, thank you for letting me be here. I appreciate it, and I'm going to head home tomorrow morning early and try to get this to Jim before he shuts down for bed tomorrow night. So thank you very much.
So I always try to count my rookie mistakes. So Kira knows this. You always want to know what the other person's going to say. Now, Bill told me what he was going to say, but he didn't say anything about artificial insemination. He did not tell me that.
You don't want to know.
Don't want to.
Thank you. Our second inductee for this year is Robert J. Carini. In fact, before we do that, let me read at least what we put together on Jim Spahn, because I didn't know he was going to talk, but we'll give a quick review there. Because his contributions to the Ford hobby were very widespread. Probably most recognized as the long-term editor of the Restore magazine. He became editor in 2000 and immediately brought the magazine into the high-tech publishing field. It received many different awards, including the International Automotive Media Award. He's a multi-talented professional, musician, photographer, historian, and I guess other things as we learned. But most of all, he was an ambassador for Model Way Ford. Okay, Bob Carini. Bob Carini was an energetic Model A hobbyist who gave very significant contributions to the hobby and helped establish a national organization to recognize the Model A Ford. He was an accomplished Model A restorer and a key founding member of the Model A Restorers Club. Beginning in 1953, he was instrumental in organizing the new club. As vice president of MARC through 1957, he established the guidelines that we use today that format what is the proper restoration of a Model A. As an early Model A advocate, through his perseverance and love of the Model A, Bob Carini played a major role in advancing the hobby that we all enjoy today.
You won't want to hear me speak twice, so I'll save it for just a short period of time, and there's no artificial insemination involved here. No.
Thank you, Wayne. Our third inductee is Gordon M. McGregor. He was the founder of Ford Canada. We're getting international now. Gordon McGregor was the founder and chief executive officer of the Ford Motor Company of Canada. He was one of the key men responsible to pave the way for the Ford automobile to be recognized outside of the United States. The Ford Motor Company of Canada was not a subsidiary of Ford USA, but a separate independent company. And this proud and independent stance was always evident in whatever they did to promote the automobiles built at Ford Canada. In fact, if you look at a Model A ad from a Model A in the Canadian version, you'll often see at the bottom the Canadian car. So they were very proud of that. Gordon McGregor took on the difficult early groundwork that resulted in the Model A being popular in its day and today throughout the British Commonwealth countries. Fourth, and surely not least, is Stanley R. Johnson.
Brad, Roz, Stan, are you able to say where you're seated? Roz and Brad, what's your name?
Okay.
Jerry, you can John Marshall.
Okay, Stan Johnson has successfully combined a military career and his love of the Model A into some very significant accomplishments. His first Model A, we understand, was a 1930 coupe that wasn't quite all together here, but still was a Model A. That was when he was 14 years old. Stan was commissioned as an officer in the U.S. Army, where he spent 30 years, and retired with the rank of colonel. He joined the Model A Ford Foundation in 2000 and served as 2 separate times as president of the organization. Within MAFI, he was quite instrumental in the planning, fundraising, building design, construction of the Model A Ford Museum that we all enjoy today. His dedication to hard work and perseverance during these very challenging years underline his significant contributions to the Model A community.
Well, great. Let me just say a word or two while I'm still vertical. You know, I've been sick for about 3 months and coming back, but it takes a while. I'm so honored. You know, the 3 that preceded me, think of that level and think of a poor country boy from Washington State joining that group. Well, I can't thank you enough.
Okay, just for an official point of view, I'd like to read this for the following four inductees. By the authority invested in me as the president of the Model A Ford Foundation, I hereby proclaim on this day, September 18, 2021, James A. Spahn was duly inducted as a member of the Model A Ford Hall of Fame. By the authority invested in me as president of the Model A Ford Foundation, I hereby proclaim that on this day, September 18, 2021, Robert J. Carini was duly inducted as a member of the Model A Ford Hall of Fame. By the authority invested in me as the president of the Model A Ford Foundation, I hereby proclaim that on this day, September 18, 2021, Gordon M. McGregor was duly inducted as a member of the Model A Hall of Fame. And this is a pleasure, Stan, by the authority invested in me as the president of the Model A Ford Foundation, I hereby proclaim that on this day, September 18, 2021, Stanley R. Johnson was duly inducted as a member of the Model A Hall of Fame.
Okay, that concludes our induction ceremony. We want to thank everyone here and everyone for over the years who have supported both the foundation, the museum, and the Model A Hall of Fame program. We also welcome, this is an annual event, so we welcome anyone who wants to nominate a candidate for next year to talk to any trustee, and there's a form to fill out and so forth, because we're always looking for new members for the Hall of Fame. We look forward to seeing everybody next year at this ceremony and on Model A Day. Thank you.
What's next on the agenda? Let's see, where are we? Special dignitaries. We did that, didn't we? Oh, yes. Yes, we have a special presentation. We have a special presenter, Wayne Carini. Wayne, would you like to give a presentation for us, please? You know, I think I told you it's the last of the agenda. But it's not. It's not.
Right now?
Yes, right now.
So, look at all these enthusiastic Model A people. This is unbelievable. You know, I just left Barrett-Jackson auction last night. Got in kind of late. It's a long story with the airlines that were going on now, but I think that there's more enthusiastic car owners here than were at Barrett-Jackson yesterday. True enthusiasm, that's what it's all about. And when you own a Model A Ford, you have enthusiasm. I'm gonna start as John said, from the right and go to the left, and tell you a little bit about what I've been doing for the past 18 years. So it was about 18 years ago that there was an article written about me in the New York Times. It was about a car that I'd pursued since I was 16 years old, and I bought it when I was 52. Same car, Hudson Italia. I'm sure a lot of you know what a Hudson Italia is. Pretty rare car. I made 25 of them. In high school, at 16 years old, everybody else liked Camaros, Mustangs. They liked all that kind of muscle car and stuff, and I liked the Hudson Italia. So you knew I was a little weird back then. You know, I had a picture of it carried around with me. But there was that Hudson Italia, I bought it, and then there was an article written about that pursuit by my friend Donald Osborne, who you see on Jay Leno's show. And Donald wrote that article about my pursuit of that car. It was called First Love. And Jim Ostrowski from Crashing Wave Production called me up on Monday morning after reading that article and said, I'd like to do a TV show about you. I go, for what? What do I do? I said, well, I read this article about you. Let me come up and talk to you. So within a half an hour, he was in my office. And I said, so what do? You're a news broadcaster? What do you do? He says, no, I make films for Discovery Channel. And they're looking for automotive content. And I think that it would kind of work out with you. So I said, well, you know, what's it pay? He says, well, it doesn't pay anything. But you never know what can happen. Thank you. So I said, well, I guess I could give it a try, but you know, I'm running a business here. I don't want you to get in my way, and I'm not an actor. I can't recite lines. I can't memorize these things. So he says, no, that's not what it's about. It's about me following you around with a camera. What the hell? I'll give it a shot. So he got the camera out of the car that day, and it's been 18 years since. 18 years. It's amazing. So, do I look different? On to the next thing. Actually, I lost a little weight. I lost about 30 pounds because I saw myself on TV and I said, whoa, that's not looking so good. But it was the strangest thing. I won't get into too many details, but we did 2 1-hour specials. The network really liked it. They sent out this girl, Shauna, who was the head of programming for Discovery, to spend a week with us in Monterey. We were out there doing our stuff. And she spent a couple of days with me, and she says, you know, you're like the mayor. You know everyone in the car business. And I said, well, yeah, I know a few people. That night, we went to a cocktail party. 3,000 people at this Jet Center cocktail party. So her and I sat down on this couch, and we're talking. And I said, do you like cars? She goes, nah, I'm not a real car person. My husband's into football, though. I said, oh, what team? Oh, Miami Dolphins. Oh, that's really great. Showed me a picture of her son, 2 years old, in a Dolphins shirt. She excuses herself to go to the ladies' room. So I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm looking around and seeing who's there. And I look to the right of me. Don Shula is sitting next to me. Honest to God, Don Shula is sitting right there. It's like somebody placed him there. Shauna comes out of the ladies' room, and I was talking to her for a minute, and all of a sudden I said, oh, geez, Sean, I forgot to introduce you to a really good friend of mine. This is Don Shula. So I always say that Don Shula sealed the deal for me to get my TV show. Thank God for Don Shula. So here we are, 17 seasons. I don't want to get in front of myself. 18th is coming up. 17 seasons later. Thank you. 210 episodes. Who would ever think of that? And now we're shown in 54 countries around the world. So my voice is dubbed in about every language. Turkish is maybe kind of tough, but I've met probably 5 of the people that dub my voice, so it's kind of cool. And I have the greatest job in the world because I get to go around the world and the country and visit with people like you and find cars and barns, and people call me and give me all these leads. And then there's guys like Rob Gibby. Where's Rob? That like spending my money for me. He loves that. But Rob and I became good friends over Model A, actually. So, but it's a wonderful hobby that we have. And how I got into it is even a better story than my success on my television show. And it's because of Model A's. So my dad, as we were listening a few minutes ago, he was inducted, which is a great honor for our family and a great honor for me. But my dad was one of the original founders of the Model A Restorers Club of America. He went to a car show with his Model A Roadster that he had restored, or he was supposed to be just paint the car for a neighbor in South Glastonbury, Connecticut. And he restored it to perfection and then gave the guy a bill for about $200. And the guy says, you can keep that damn car. I'm not paying you $200. And so because of that, my dad found himself with a nice, beautiful Model A 6-wheel Roadster. And we took it to this car show. I always remember him telling me it was Albro Case, and he was in Windsor, Connecticut. They pulled in the parking lot and paid their registration fee of probably $1. And they said, well, you can't park in here. This is just for real good old cars. That's a used car. You just park that car across the street. And my father got pretty angry. And a friend of his, Bill Hall, was with him. And he says, you know what? We're going to create a club that they can't come to. And they created, so my dad says, well, why don't we call it the Model A Club? He says, Bob, there's already a Model A Club. Okay, we're going to call it the Model A Restorers Club because I'm now an official Model A restorer. And that's how it happened. Bill Hall and my father put this thing together with a couple of their really good friends. Bill Harbison was one of the guys. And it got a little too involved for my dad because it was this, my dad was working restoring cars. And Bill Hall, thank God he was there, worked for the state of Connecticut. And he had the opportunity to use the mimeograph machine and stamps to put out the newsletters. So guess who became the president? Bill Hawke. But my dad sat on the sidelines. He was vice president for many, many years, and it was such a great thing. My dad became, though, a perfectionist, and that's why it's all his ideas and for the rules and regulations of judging happened. He became such a perfectionist that in the end, when we were stopped showing cars at Hershey, he had to get one up on the next guy next to him. He had to have one little edge. So in his restorations, all the screw heads went in the same direction. All the cotter pins were bent exactly the same length. And then when we get to the show, I had to carry a jack handle, and he carried the jack, and he would jack the tire up, and he always made sure that the valve stem was sticking straight up and the hubcap name was perfectly horizontal on every wheel going around. And so, but everybody else didn't have that, and all the judges sort of picked up on that. The one thing I always remember, though, there was a judge at Hershey every year that really liked to bust my butt of my father. And so he came over one day and he raised the hood, and on the valve covers there's those little nuts. And my father had them blued. And he says, Bob, those are supposed to be CAD plated. Oh, no, they're blued, I know. I've seen a lot of these cars, but Bob, I'm telling you, so they deducted points. My father wrote a letter to the rotunda, and he got research done that those nuts to go on the valve covers were blued. So I always remember that because I was the guy holding the torch. My father would put the thing in there and then dip it in oil. And so the year after, the same judge comes over. They got a different car this year, and Bob, you didn't listen to me last year. And then my father got that letter out, and that guy melted into the woodwork. He disappeared because my father had the documentation. So Model A's were such a big part of my life. 5th grade, the teachers always say, "What did you do this summer?" Well, I rebuilt a Model A engine. And the teacher goes, "Oh yeah, sure you did." So my dad, when I told him that, he says, he really didn't believe you? So he went to school and he worked a deal out with the teacher that we brought a Model A engine in a stand to school. We put it in a separate classroom, and I disassembled the engine and I put it back together and started it up. And the teacher just was stunned. But that's what happened. When you hang out with this stuff long enough, you get to know what's going on with it. When I was 6 years old, he found out that I knew how to hold a piece of sandpaper and go like this. I was hired. And because of that, that's what really got me into repairing cars and restoring cars. And then that drive for perfection that my dad did. So in my dad's world, there was 2 ways of doing things in everything he did. There was his way, and then there was his way. Which way did you want to do it? I guess we'll go your way, Dad. But it really paid off. He became so well known in the hobby, everyone looked to him as being the guy. And that was so cool to know that my dad was the guy. There was a lady that came to him once, and she decided her son needed a hobby. Her name was Esther Larson. Esther Larson was a famous artist, and she drew fashion art. And her fashion designs were in Bergdorf Goodman. The 3rd page in on Vogue every month was Esther Larson's drawing. So she wanted her son to have a hobby. So she bought a Model A Ford for him to tinker around with. And then she found my father. Who's the best Model A guy in the world? Well, Bob Carini's right in your backyard. She was in Union, Connecticut, and we were in Glastonbury, Connecticut. So she had her son, she talked my father into letting Jack Larson come to the shop every Saturday and work on his Model A with my dad. And then they got that done, and Esther says, "Well, that was fun. Let's go out and buy some cars now." And he basically gave my father carte blanche to go out and find any Model A he wanted. And they were going to start a museum, which became the Captain Paul House Model A Museum. I don't know if anyone's heard of that, but very famous museum in Connecticut. And she had basically one of every Model A. And right down to a very famous one, which was something that was really cool in our lives. And that was a 30 Model A town car. Now, from my understanding, there was only 2 of those that were built. And this woman down in New Haven, Connecticut, Mrs. Taylor, she had one. My father had restored a Rolls Royce for her husband and asked him to restore Mrs. Taylor's Model A town car. So my dad restored it, and when Rube Taylor came to pay the bill, I can't remember what it was, I wasn't really that old at the time. Let's say it was $350 or $400. Mr. Taylor says, well, I'm starting this company, I'm involved with this company, and I'd like to give you stock in the company instead of the payment. And my dad says, no, I'd like to buy another Model A, or I need the money or something. So Rube says, well, Bob, but McDonald's is really going to be big one of these days. Oh well. We still had to pay for our French fries. But they were good French fries. Another car, though, and what really means a lot to me today is to have my dad's fire truck here. So my dad built the fire truck that you see over in back of me there. The gentleman sitting in the back. And he started this process that was going to be for Mrs. Larson's museum. And then Mrs. Larson decided to close the museum. And so my dad continued with the project. A gentleman by the name of Newman, who owned car dealerships in Hartford, he got involved with it and said, I'd like to have it as my family's fire truck. So my dad made Newman fire hats for it. And then Bob Newman fell off of it at the end and said, you know, Bob, it's taking you too long. My kids are already growing up. I don't want it. So my dad and I went across the country in 1970 in his 1964 Cadillac. And he was determined to sell that fire truck to a museum. And we hit every museum in the country. And nobody wanted it. So he brought it back, he brought it to Hershey, it was sold to a gentleman in Illinois. Now, the story continues is that now my dad is 85 years old, and I want to do something really special for my dad for his birthday. I'm going through eBay one day, looking for a truck, and I find the fire truck on eBay. So I call the gentleman, I said, you know, I'd really like to buy the truck. How much is it? He said, it's $35,000. I said, okay. Would you take 30? Yeah, I might. He says, what do you want the fire truck for? I said, well, my dad built it. If you look on a plaque on the right-hand side by the seat, there's a plaque and it says Robert Carini, Glastonbury, Connecticut. He says, yeah. I said, well, that's my dad. Really? You aren't that guy on TV, are you? I go, yeah, I am. He said, really? Let me call you back tomorrow. Let me talk to my sister tonight. Calls me back tomorrow, and it's $85,000. And you can see what happened. I told him to put it where the sun doesn't shine, and unfortunately, I sort of wish I didn't. But if he had asked 85 in the beginning, I would have paid him. Didn't matter. But I felt like he was trying to take advantage of me. Fortunately, the family that owns it now, I'm so happy that they have it. It's great to see it out here. So many great memories with that fire truck. And I just hope that someday, I'm going to take some pictures of it today and show my family that my dad being inducted here today would really appreciate seeing it again. And I think that he's going to talk to him tonight and tell him that I found his fire truck this here. I found his Model A 400. He asked me one day, he says, you know, there's a car that, you know, that 400 that we had was really my favorite car. He found it at a Ford dealer in Vermont. It was in the back room, and the guy said he wanted $500 for it. So my father said, well, I have $100 with me. And the guy says, well, just come back with the rest of the money. So he scooped up the money. We went back up to Vermont and bought it. And when we were building our house in Glastonbury, Connecticut, he decided that it was this time to sell it and pay for the house a little bit. So sold it to a doctor in it was somewhere here in Michigan anyways. And we got in the Plymouth station wagon, us kids in our pajamas, at about 2 o'clock in the morning. We just started driving towards Michigan. We dropped it off to the guy. And when Mrs. Larson had her museum, he said, I'd like to have my 400 back. So call the guy and get it. So he did. Then it got sold. So my dad says that's the one car I wish I'd never sold, and so on. So I went looking for it. And, you know, unfortunately, I wasn't able to find it while he was still alive. But I did find it. It's in Texas. and it's in a great family down there, and they won't sell it because it was their dad's Model A 400. But I appreciate that they're taking good care of it. The one car, though, I did buy for him. He always said the Model A Roadster pickup truck's probably one of my favorite cars that we've had. And damn, I should have never sold that. So it's for his 85th birthday, I found a Model A Roadster pickup truck, same color. So I bought it. We had a big group at the shop and an unveiling and a big cape. And I said, okay, Dad, here it is. And I unveiled it. And he looks, he says, what the hell am I going to do with that? I don't know, Dad. You said that was your... I say a lot of things. He says, is it really mine? I said, it's all yours, Dad. Where's the title? I said, well, here's the title. So I've been taking care of my dad. He didn't walk too well at that period of time. So I'd go to his house 3 or 4 times a week. But I'd always go through the front door. So about 2 months later, I'm taking the garbage out, and I go through the garage, and I go, what the hell's the Model A? So I go in, Dad, what happened to the Model A? Oh, Christ, I sold that about a month ago. I said, do I get my initial investment back? Hell no, you gave it to me. Like I said, it was his way and his way. But he was a great guy, he really was. And to all the things that we used to do with Model A's, there would be a show like this in Connecticut and in Massachusetts, wherever. And we did so many great things. Did you ever see a teeter board where you drive up and you balance your car? We had that. We had the slow race. My father always won the slow race. He had that thing dialed in with the carburetor and the timing just right. He'd get out and just walk alongside of the car casually, you know. And of course, everybody is already at the finish line. He's about halfway through. We used to get in the Model A touring car and dive for hot dogs. You know, they'd put a string off and you had to reach up with your mouth and bite a hot dog. We did some crazy things in Model A's. But fortunately, I still have some Model A's. I've got a 4-door touring car. Then I got a car that this guy has something to do with over here. This is Rob Gibby. You'll hear from him in a little while. Rob called me up one day and said, I've got this Model A hot rod, and I have an autistic grandson, and you have an autistic daughter, and I'd like to give this Model A to your autism charity. I said, great, let's do it. It was his car when he was in high school. He found the car later on in life, got it up and running again, and now is willing to give it up to charity. So we meet up for the first time, we talk about the car, we bring it to auction down at Boca Raton, or no, it was at Amelia Island. And it's getting some bids, and I go, I'll throw a bid up, and yeah, I'll throw another bid up, and nobody else is throwing bids up. Sold! Hey, Mr. Carini owns a Model A, which I still have today. And we'll donate it to another cause. That's the key. That car will continue to do good things in life. And we'll donate that to a charity someday. You see on my television show, I talk a lot about my family and about autism. And, you know, I'm so fortunate that the show allows me to talk about the things I care about in my life. And there's nobody at Discovery or Motor Trend that tells me what to do. It's really great. There's no script to our show. It's basically what I want to do and what I want to talk about. How many people could say that? I mean, all these other television shows, they got 22 producers and people are throwing things at them and stuff. Well, we have none of that. And I think that's why our show is so successful. It's because every week you turn the TV on, you watch my show, and you don't know what I'm going to be doing, but at least you know you're going to be able to sit with your grandchildren or your son and daughter and watch the show, and there's no bleeping and there's no fighting or anything like that. So I think that's why our show's been so successful. And you get to hear what's on my mind, and so sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not so good, but the charity aspect is really something that I enjoy so much, being able to go around the country. I have a special car that came in once, and I'll sort of wrap this up, we'll take some questions. But there was a car that came in to our shop once, and it's a 49 Buick, and it comes in on a flatbed, and it's apart a little bit. And I go out and I look at it, and I say, wow, this is a cool car. And so a lady calls from California, says, my boss's car, he'd like you to restore it for him. give me a call with an estimate. So I call her back and I said, this is really kind of weird. This looks like the Rain Man Buick. Who saw Rain Man? What a movie, huh? Fabulous movie. So I said, this looks like the Rain Man car. She said, well, that's because it is. That car belongs to Barry Levinson. He was the director of the movie, and he sees your TV show. He's a big fan of your TV show, and he wants you to restore it. So we restore the car. My involvement with autism is such a great thing, and this is like something that's sent down from heaven. And I restore the car, and I bring it to Mr. Levinson's house. And he's got a summer home in Connecticut. And I go to put it in the garage, and the garage has got a dirt floor. And I go, oh, this is not working for me. I put it back in the trailer, and I bring it back, and I call Barry, and I say, Barry, I got a deal for you. I'll house the car for no expense to you if you allow me to take it to charity events across the country. It's been 12 years, and Barry Levinson has never seen his car. And I have done so many good things with that car for autism charities around the country that it had a purpose. That purpose was being in that movie and explaining what autism was a little bit when people really didn't understand it. And now it's doing things, it continues to do good things. And cars do that. They do so many good things, and the good people do good things with them. And I think that's a good note to end on. So thank you very much. And make sure to watch Chasing Classic Cars Tuesday nights at 10 on Motor Trend. We don't know our new time slot, so we're just filming our next season right now. We just started actually two weeks ago, so you'll see some new episodes on probably next year. But we're as long as you people still watch it and still enjoy it, we'll keep doing it. Any questions? Did they pay me? Yeah, never enough. Never enough.
Now you get some.
But they pay me, yeah, they pay me. And what's really good is that I get to represent some really great companies too. Haggerty Collector Car Insurance. I teamed up with McKeel many years ago. I'm the brand ambassador for Craftsman Tools, which is I was just at Bear Jackson. I wasn't there buying any cars, I promise. But these are great companies that I represent. And I don't represent anything that I don't believe in. So real quick, I was asked 4 years ago to be the most interesting automobile guy in the world. The Dos Equis ad, remember? The most interesting man in the world. And their agent out of New York City got a hold of me, and they had this whole plan, and they already wrote the script up and all this stuff, and I got a problem. What's the problem? I said, I don't drink beer. Well, no, you can fake it. I said, I can't fake anything. I turned down a really good contract, but I believe in that. And I don't believe in showing people that you drink alcohol. If you want to drink it, that's fine. Don't brag about it, though. Another question, and I got it from someone in the audience that was out in the parking lot. Why don't I tell everybody how much I pay for a car? It's nobody's damn business. I'm not going to ask you how much is in your 401k because it's none of my business. Yes, sir. Roger's doing okay. He doesn't work for us anymore. Roger couldn't play by the rules with COVID. We had a mask restriction in the shop, and we sort of spread out, and that way there we could keep working. Well, every day he'd come to work and he refused to wear his mask. And all my guys got a little upset about that. Well, how come he doesn't, but we have to? And he's 85 years old at the time, and I said, Roger, you get this, you're gonna die. Don't you understand? Oh, no, typical Roger. So I laid him off. He went and got a job somewhere else, and c'est la vie. So that's the end of the Roger questions, because I get those all day long. I know Roger since I was 10 years old. He was a pain in the ass then, and he's still a pain in the ass. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. My husband and I have a part that when we were teenagers and dating, we got off of an old, side the road old car. We had no idea what it is, but it says, it's a handle and it says pull daily. Can you identify what kind of a car that would belong to?
Sounds like a toilet. Pull daily. That's one I'll have to think about. But right off the top of my head, that was the answer.
I didn't think you were researching something
I think your best way is to just put it on the internet.
It's an
I mean,
oiler.
it's a what?
An oiler.
A boiler? Oh, okay. Could be, yeah. Could be.
I'm kind of thinking that if somebody's looking for that part, they might really appreciate it.
Yeah. Pull daily, usually it's pump, but not pull. But it could have been.
Do you have a favorite car?
My favorite car is the next car. That's the truth. Richie Klein, I don't know if anybody knows Richie Klein. Richie Klein's a great collector out of Las Vegas, a really good friend of mine. And he always says, it's about the chase, and that's what our TV show is. It's all about the chase. It's all about the excitement, the experience about finding a car and talking to the people and finding out the history and then finally buying it. And you know what? It becomes another can of peas on the shelf sometimes after a while. So it's exciting, though, to go out and search for cars. We're talking at lunch today about my Stutz Bearcat. Remember that episode? Boy, what an episode. What a car. I did end up selling it because of a issue with driving it and somebody almost hitting me, but I just bought another one yesterday. They come out of the woodwork. Yes, sir.
Hey, what's the longest you've owned a car?
Ooh, I've owned a lot of cars for a long time, yeah. I don't know. I don't have my original car that I had when I was young, so I started off with MGs and things like that. I wasn't a muscle car guy. I didn't really get into muscle cars. I had a Boss 302, but I think probably 40 years, something like that.
What was it?
It still is. It's a 57 Ford. 57 Ford ranch wagon. Yeah. I love that car. That sort of aqua green color. Yes, DeLorean man.
Hi, Wayne.
Hi.
Thank you again for coming out today.
No problem. I sat in his DeLorean today. Man, what a nice car.
And I also wanted to say, Wayne, with the autism charity that you bring that one car out to, I just want to let you know that I have autism, and ever since I've owned this DeLorean, I've been really more opened up to interacting with more car people.
That's great. Well, you see, cars do it. Yes, sir.
With the average age of model A owner of 70, 75, where is this market going down the road?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. So, and John and I talked about that earlier today too. And everybody that said, bringing your children in or doing that, teaching kids how to drive standard shift cars is so important. I'll tell you a real quick story. My grandson is 6 years old yesterday. And that's why I'm here only today, and I'm running home because we're having a birthday party for him tomorrow. On his 5th birthday, I said, what do you want more than anything in the world from Pops today? And he says, I want to go for riding a Pierce Arrow. We have a 16 Pierce Arrow. Now, we have a lot of cars, and a lot of fast cars, and some red cars, if you know what I mean. And he wanted to go for riding a Pierce Arrow. So we're riding around in our town, and he says to me, Pop-Up, this is my favorite car you own. I said, man, that's really cool. I love this car. I said, well, Connor, it's your birthday today. Happy birthday. It's your car. I gave him the car. So my theory, people go, what the heck are you thinking about giving a 5-year-old a 16 Pierce Arrow? It's better to give it to him now than talk him into it when he's 20 years old. So do that. Think of that. If you see somebody that you love and you want to have that, and listen, it's sort of like the thing, I would try to talk my father into signing his house over to us kids. He's like, are you going to throw me out? Dad, I'm not going to throw you out. It's just the logical thing to do. Oh, no. So with your car, it's the same thing. If you see a neighbor or anybody that like to be involved, just give them the damn car. And enjoy it yourself while you're around, but still create that interest. Now, my grandson said to me day before yesterday in a Zoom call, I was out in Houston, he says, Pops, which car am I getting this year? I've created a monster. But he loves cars, and he loves anything that goes fast. And now he's driving the golf cart, He's 6 years old. It's a wonderful thing as a grandparent to see this, and especially as a guy like me that's a real car nut, is to have my grandson be a car nut.
Sold the Pierce Arrow.
Yeah, no, well, it's in his trust, and he can't do anything with it for a long period of time. It's put in there right. He has 10 cars in his trust. Now, he doesn't know that, but he'll get a car every so often. Like maybe he'll get one for Christmas this year. You know, who saw the episode about the Mole hot rod that I built out in California? So that's Connor's car. I love that car. It'll never go anywhere in my lifetime. And Connor will either enjoy it or he'll sell it going down the road. Yes?
What is your daughter's favorite car?
My daughter's? Kimberly likes our 1959 Alfa Romeo Veloce Spider. She just loves that car. We had, this coronavirus thing really did so many bad things for so many people around the world. But it did sometimes wonderful things too, in that it gave us time to be together. And it gave me time to be with my daughter Kimberly more than I've probably been in the last 18 or 19 years. I bought a new Corvette, and it came in a week before COVID really shut everything down. So we had it to the house, and I made it a rule that every Saturday, Kimberly and I would go out for a 3-hour drive. And we got in the car every Saturday afternoon, and we didn't know where we were going. And she knows left and right. She doesn't know too many words and understand them and can't say too many words. But I said, okay, we get to the end of the street every Saturday. I said, left or right? Left. Okay, we went left. And then after that, we just drove. And what a great thing that was to be able to bond like that with my daughter and my whole family. You know, when you're on the road, I travel in an average of 180 days a year. I'm in hotel rooms and on airplanes and at all events. So being home like that. So even though that it was a terrible thing, it continues to be such a terrible thing, that period of time I think did our whole country a world of good in some ways, that we bonded together. Unfortunately, some families couldn't see each other, but yet the close-knit family deal was really important. Thank you very much.
We had one calling question, and the caller wanted to know what a great honor it must have been for you to walk around the campus with the president of the Model A Ford Foundation. But since we don't have time to answer that, because
I thought I had 10 more minutes.
well, yeah, we've got time to give you something, John.
I'm not going to get up there with him because I'm going to fall down. You know. Yeah, about 10 years ago, I had the privilege of working on that truck from the nitwit that Wayne tried to buy it from. You know. And the motor froze up in it, and he hired me to put in a new motor that our club had built. So I put the motor in, and I proceeded to keep the truck for almost 3.5 years because he wouldn't pay his bill. So I used it on my hay rides, giving my nephews and nieces and kids and grandkids rides in it and stuff, until he finally paid his bill, and then Dennis bought it, you know. But while I had it, I was able to take a bunch of pictures in my yard, and I found them on my computer, and we want to present you with this to take home with you. It's got a picture of the plaque on there that Wayne was talking about, and different pictures. There's the picture of the motor, and it's got the VIN number in it that his dad made and stuff. So that's something that you won't have to fly home with it. We'll mail it to you. You know. Yeah. But there's one more thing. John and I were talking about, we wanted to give you something special, and I still had the motor that I took out of this, because I took the whole motor out and I still had it in the barn. But we were thinking that he probably wouldn't want to fly with the motor. You know, it would be too much. So we did the next best thing, you know. This is actually the fan off of his dad's truck that they restored in 1970. You know, that's the fan off the truck. And thank you for all you do, and thank you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. It was a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.
All right, there's more. There's a little bit more. Does anyone want to know why Wayne said right to left, or do you want to get back on the agenda? Show of hands. Agenda? Agenda? You want the story? All right, real quick. I promise, real quick. So, John, let me. Thank you. So, my career was involved with the automotive business, okay? So I thought I was a really young guy, a real smart guy and all this, and I used to call on Ford Engine Engineering. We sold engine parts. We made them, sold them. So a good friend of mine named Pete Welsh came in one day, and I came in with this great program, timing chart and all that kind of stuff. And I'm presenting it to him, and I'm proud because it took a long time to develop all the actions you have to take to make something, design it, make it, all that stuff. He looks at it, he says, he draws a big red line right down the middle of it. And I said, what's that? And he said, where are you from, John? I said, well, I'm from the East. He said, I knew you weren't from the Midwest because you started from the left to the right. You always go from the right to the left. This is what I want. That's on that side. You got to figure out what to do on this side to make it happen. And I never forgot that. I always thought it was an important lesson. Pay attention to what your customer says, is maybe another way of saying it. All right, so back to the agenda. If I can flip the page here. Thank you, Wayne. Let's see, we have something special to give you. We've done that part. Oh yes, we have some new. We're on the last leg here. We have some new and exciting news for you. Okay, there is only one place when I'm going to say this that you are to applaud. Okay, I will not be your president next year. This is not the time to applaud. The time to applaud is when I tell you that Jerry Morrissey will be our next president. Where are you, Jerry? Okay. So, okay, off the agenda briefly, but I don't know, there's certain things that just make me laugh. I got to share with people, so I got to tell you this one. I'm telling this story primarily because of you, Stan. Okay, because it's time for you to get even with me. So, how do you know it's time to go? I mean, when do you really know? Well, you have doubts. You know, gosh, maybe I should stick around. Maybe not. Maybe we need new people. We know this, that, and the other. So I'm walking around the museum one day with Jerry, and Jerry looks at me and says, "What's up, John? You look kind of puzzled. You don't look like things are good." And I said, "Well, everything's all right." He said, "No, it's not. What's wrong?" And I said, "Well, I'll tell you what's wrong." He says, "John," I said, "Jerry, we've been in this museum now for 4 days. We've got all this Model A expertise. We've got parts. We've got knowledge. But the whole time we've been there, there's been one guy working on a car the entire time. You'd think you'd be able to put a transmission and engine, you'd be able to rebuild the entire car." He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "It's right here in the museum." He said, "Where?" I said, "It's in the service department." He looked at me and said, "John, that's the mannequin." And I knew right then it was time to go. Sorry about that. I had to get that in. All right, so we have a tradition. Jerry, where are you, Jerry? We have a tradition. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Yes, before we do the traditional turnover, we have some. What are we here for? We have some gifts to be given to us, right? Would you like to present the gifts to us, Mark? And before I turn over the keys, Jerry, I want to be on the good end of this. Mark.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be back this year. See everybody. The swap was beyond anything I could have imagined. Thank you all for your support. One of the great things that we did this year, Helen Ehrenhofer once again allowed us to use her front lawn with Ken, Little Val, and Ron to hold our annual swap. Besides vendor sales, donations, and t-shirt sales, we'd like to make our annual Mafi donation to the bus project of $2,324.
Doug. This is Doug Linden on the MAFCA board.
How you doing, John? Yeah, right. On behalf of the Minuteman Model A Ford Club of Massachusetts, John, I'm pleased to present a check for $5,000 to Mafi in recognition of our longtime member, Art Callan, who, with his creative ideas, was certainly instrumental in changing the Minuteman organization. But as you know, over 16 years of executive director leadership, he certainly changed the whole program for the museum. So John, here's this check for $5,000, and we.
Thank you. Okay, now I've got to get my other prop out. I got to get the keys. Yeah.
Oops, those just Wayne.
When there's a change of leadership of Mafi, we have a tradition. This was handed down to me from Lukey and from Stan Johnson to Lukey. It is the turning over of the keys. Jerry, would you come forward, please? Now, let me tell you something about the keys.
They don't work.
I am glad to hear that, because there are 3 keys on. I've had them in my pocket for 4 years. There are 3 keys on this, and only yesterday did I learn what the second one was for. I still don't know what the third one's for, but these are important keys, Jerry. You can't lose these keys. You cannot lose these keys. So I want to make sure you don't lose these keys, Jerry. So I want to make sure that they're always a part of our organization. It's a very important part. So I bought you a key fob to go with these keys. All right. Now I have to stand down to do this.
Oh, no.
Key fob. Jerry. Next year we'll give you a strap to hold. Oh, hey, I'm glad I saw you. Thank you, Jerry. I got one more thing. Roger Moffat is right there, the fellow eating the ice cream cone that we all want. I want you to know Roger Moffat is the president of the Franklin Organization. Roger also drives Model A's all over the campus to bring people into the Model A hobby.
Only on Tuesdays.
Only on Tuesdays. The reason Roger doesn't own a Model A is because he gets to drive one on Tuesdays in the museum. So thank you, Roger. Thank you. Jerry, it's time for me to hand you the microphone. Is everybody happy with that? I guess everybody's pretty happy. And we have to be 50-50.
Can we ask this gentleman a question? The gentleman here, we're eating the ice cream. Where did you get the ice cream? Thank you. Modelators have to know where the ice cream is.
Good question. I wish I thought of that, Jerry.
I know I'm going.
Thanks, John. Well, that's a very good question about the ice cream, because being a volunteer out here at Gilmore has some perks. Very few perks, but some perks.
Free ice cream.
Free ice cream. So, sign up today. I know that ice cream is one of our most popular events in our local car club, and we try and include it in our meetings, our dinners, and our get-togethers. And sometimes that's the whole purpose of our get-together, is just to go for ice cream. So it's very important. I cannot say enough about the past president of the Monterey Ford Foundation. Dan especially. John has done a great job too. And Lukey, yes. And all of them, we think of Mafi being around since 2012 when the museum was built, but it goes back way further than that to right around 1987, I believe, was when the Model A Ford Foundation was established with the goal of trying to someday have a museum. And that's a reality. So it's really good. I hope, my only hope is that I can try and do as good a job as the people before me. And we have a great group of trustees, and we have a great group of volunteers that will make my job a lot easier. So with that being said, agenda. agenda. The next one is the 50-50 drawing.
Just don't tell me I'm the youngest person here.
Maybe Brad.
Brad, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, high school. Kyra, please come forward.
Okay. So the winning ticket will be worth $627.
She's coming. She's turning it on.
You get to turn it off whenever you think.
Remember who gave you the invitation.
Me.
Okay. So just one ticket.
One ticket.
One ticket. Okay, it's 5, 4, 6, 6, 0, 1, 0. Compare that.
The IRS is going to meet with you.
John mentioned that she is wearing this year's shirt, available for sale.
Just for next year, it does help to wear the current museum shirt. It improves your odds of winning. So we do have the bus here and the stake bed to give rides down to Rob Gibby's presentation, which is going to be in the Garage Works building, and it starts after this is concluded. But on behalf of the Model A Ford Foundation, we just want to thank you again for coming and making this one of the best Model A days ever. So thanks a lot.